$30, $300. What in the world is the difference between these two hinge jigs, and does it really matter? Is it something that you really actually need to spend this kind of money to get a hinge jig, or will this one here from Kreg work just fine for you? Today we're going to look at it and we're going to find out. Let's get started. So if you're familiar at all with Kreg, you know that a lot of their stuff is that hard blue poly plastic. That's one of the ways that I believe that they save money, is they don't have to spend a lot of time dealing with any kind of metal or aluminum or anything. Instead, they're able to just do it out of plastic. Save some time and some money. The other thing is that this is a two-piece jig. It comes apart just like this, and you've got kind of this collar with the bit here, and then you've also got the ability, you're going to put this into your drill. And then I've got an old door here that I kind of play around and practice on that I messed up years ago. And the way that this works is you've got a little bit of a lip here on this backside, and so when I put this in place wherever I need it, it pushes up and it bumps up against that lip, and that's how I know where to stop. Now, I have the ability here, depending upon the offset, however much that needs to be, I've actually got the ability with these. You take a Phillips head right here on each one of these, and there are little cams in there, and you can adjust those and turn those, and they have measurements 3, 4, 5, 6 millimeter offset, so you kind of know kind of where you want those, and you can make those adjustments for where that needs to sit for your particular hinge. It works very well, very simple, nothing fancy there. Then you've got to, in order to use this jig, we've got to take another clamp of some sort. I like these quick clamps here from Kreg. You could use any kind of a clamp though, it really wouldn't matter. And you got to clamp this guy down, and once you've got it in place and you're good to go there, then we can actually take and put our collar back on here like this, and we're clipped in and snapped in place, and then we can drill this out. Just like that. We're done with that part. Now, we've got a lot of shavings and stuff here in the way. The other thing that we can do though, is we can now take another drill bit. This is a very tiny drill bit on a different drill, and we can put this in. There are two little pinholes in this thing, and we can drill those, and it is basically just putting a little pilot hole in for where our screws need to go when we actually install the hinge. So it's a very simple little way to be able to tell that and to use that. The only downside is that you need a second drill, most likely, to kind of speed up the process and to do that and to make it work. Once you're done, you've got a hole here, you've got your little pilot holes there, and it works very, very well. That's pretty much the long and short of that hinge jig. Now, when we move over to the Blum hinge jig is a lot heavier. This is all metal construction. It's very heavy, it's very dense, and there's a couple of things that are really going to set it apart. One of which is I actually don't have to have a separate clamp. So this has a clamp built in. So we've got these two ears here, and this is basically our clamp. Once we put this in, we're going to slide this onto our door, and then we will clamp these down like this, and it's going to hold it in place for us. The other difference is it actually uses a Torx head bit that fits inside of these little ears on each side. This is a Torx head bit, and you just put this into your drill. If I can get this to line up. There we go. Okay, and that's all that it takes for this, because the top of this head on all three of these connections here, these are all made for this Torx head bit. So that's all I've got to have. I don't have to have kind of that big bulky thing on my drill the way that I do with the Kreg. Then I'm going to take, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to lift these up. I'm going to bring these in, and then I've got two little adjustments here that I can loosen here, and this allows me to raise or lower this clamping mechanism wherever I need it. So I'm gonna line it up, I'm gonna bump it up to where it needs to go, and then once I do that, I will close that down, okay? So I'm just putting it in place, that's all I'm doing. And then once I've got it exactly where I want it, I take both of these little knobs, I just tighten them down on each side, okay? And I'm done. And then as the final thing to go ahead and just like 100% put it in place, I'm gonna give it one of these. That's all it is. So it's a very simple setup. It works very, very well. My cam moved on me. Okay, so speaking of that, this is a good time to even talk about that. So we were talking about here, the offset cams on this one are right here, and you adjust these here. Offset cams on this are these two orange pieces here, and they basically work the same style type way. You just put these in place, and then you just tighten these down so that they don't roll around on you like they did on me just a minute ago. But very simple. I actually can just loosen this off by hand, and then I can roll this wherever I need it to be. And then I've just got kind of these thumb screw things on each side that I can tighten those back down to where I need it to be. Okay, so we're gonna put this back in. We're gonna bump this in. We just clamp it down. It's clamped down just like that. And we're gonna run our first hole in. Now we've got that done. Now I don't have to take a second bit and drive another pilot hole if I don't want to. Now, so here's a couple of different things to think about here. So one, when I take and I do that on each side, these two on each side are where my screws are going to line up, but it actually doesn't drive a true pilot hole. What it does do is it makes two little marks so that I know where I can either A, put a pilot hole or just put a screw. Most of the time, the cabinets and stuff that I'm building, I'm doing poplar. And because most of the stuff that I do typically is painted. And so the poplar that I'm using, I never pre-drill. I don't have it. I've never had an issue with anything splitting out. I could see if you were doing something red oak or something like that, it'd be a totally different story. But with what I'm doing, I just don't pre-drill most of the time. So this right here, I bump those two. So I've got two little spots there. I know exactly where it lines up. That's all I need to do to make this work and to be perfectly lined up for me and to do everything I need it to do. Now, inside of there, it's just like this other one. Only difference is that all your shavings kind of end up inside of this. I'll bring you in and show you a little bit better here in just a second. But there's the two holes I was kind of talking about right there. These little indentions so that I know exactly where it goes. Now, if I wanted to use inserted hinges, the beautiful thing about this is that we've got these collars on here that pop off, and I can take these collars off, and now this will actually go all the way down, and it will actually drill out on each side the exact hole for me to be able to use inserted hinges as well. So that's one of the things that sets this apart from this, is that it is designed for both. Very, very handy, very good. So if you're an inserter person, this will speed up your process dramatically, because again, it's going to put both those holes in there in addition to your hole for your hinge. So that's something to think about when it comes to this one. So something that I actually like a little bit more about the Kreg is that they actually have a little ruler up here across the top. And so if you know that you want to come down 3 inches off the top and the bottom of your doors, I can actually put it over here on the 3 and then clamp it down, and I'm good to go. Do the same thing on this side to go to 3, find my mark, and I know that I've recessed both of those, brought both of those in 3 inches exactly. I don't have that with the Blum, so that's a little bit of a swing and a miss, because you have to actually take a tape measure, measure down, mark it, and then kind of go from there. And then it actually has on the back here, you've got a spot here so that you can actually, it's kind of acts as like a sight glass. So when you make your mark, you're able to see exactly where center is on this. And so you center it up that way on the sight and then clamp it down and then drill the hole. Again, like we said when we started out, this is 30 bucks, this is $300. Okay. Is this overpriced? Probably. I actually bought this first, and the reason I bought it was because I had a buddy of mine that when I started building doors, and quite a few doors, he loaned me his, and I really, really liked it. And so I just decided when I gave it back to him, I was like, I'm just gonna save up and just kind of splurge and buy one of these. I don't regret at all owning this. I use it I have both of these. I will just tell you, I use this one every time pretty much. I've had this one for quite a while, and I really just bought it for nothing else other than just to kind of see what it was like and how it worked. Again, yeah, I mean, for what I do, and because I build quite a few doors, I love having this. It's very easy. I love not having to have a separate clamp. I love not having to use a separate pilot bit, all of that kind of stuff. But for the average person, like if you're just going to build a vanity in your bathroom, you just want to buy this. There's no reason to spend this kind of money. This is something that I'm doing all the time, and so it's a little bit more of an investment, and it's different probably in my case. Now, if you're a person that knows that over the next 20, 30 years, you're still going to be building lots and lots of cabinet doors and things like this, this is very handy. One of the things that I feel like is a little bit of a downside, in my opinion, for the price, there's a couple of things that I feel like should be a little bit different. One, I think it should have dust collection for $300. In my opinion, with this style, it really wouldn't have taken a lot to have added some kind of a port to put dust collection on this, and it really would have helped clean things up a little bit. So in my opinion, that's probably my only main dig on it, obviously other than the price. But you know, that is my take, my thoughts. Again, I think that both of these have their place. I think it really just going to come down to what do you actually need and what are you doing? Are you remodeling your kitchen and you're never going to build doors again? Get this one. If you're going to be doing this for the next 30 or 40 years and you can spend the money, get this one. This one works perfect every single time. And the ability to use inserted hinges and to have that as well, that's just an added benefit. So those are the main two differences. Again, you're talking about 10 times the cost, but if you're somebody that's going to be doing this for a long time to come, I think you need to go with this one. If you're a hobbyist and you know for a fact, I'm building some doors, you know, and once I'm done with this, I'm done building cabinets, do this for 30 bucks. You can't beat it either. Now, I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below on these two jigs. Do you own them? What are your thoughts? Is this price too expensive? Is this too cheap? Do you hate Kreg? Do you love Kreg? What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you're new here, I post videos every week talking about DIY stuff, tools, different things like that, remodeling. I'd love to have you here. Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.